Good morning. Why did you have to yell when I said that? Yeah? Well, tell him. You had so many things to tell him. Yeah?
Hey, what's up? I'm Allie, and welcome back to my channel. I have been loving horror lately, and it has been, I think, basically the main genre that I read from. Every so many years, I feel like my tastes just differ. They just change over time, and lately it has just been horror. That is all I want to read. The problem is, I don't really know what categories inside of horror that I actually enjoy reading from. I like gore, I like thriller, I'm not too sure on paranormal, but there's so many other avenues to explore, and the problem is a lot of them end up being pretty big books. I also don't feel like I have a ton of time these days. Reading is hard, for whatever reason. I got really into horror novellas within the past few months, and I thought, what a great way to test out some of the different genres within horror, some of the subgenres within horror, and also get up those reading stats, you know? I needed to read more of them. So, like any other person, I went to the internet to look for book recommendations, and specifically, booktube, my place of choice to look for them. I ended up looking at a few different booktubers who had done specifically horror novella recommendation videos or short horror recommendations. And what I ended up doing is writing down every title that they talked about and then adding tallies basically anytime one was mentioned more than once. And then I decided the top 5 that were mentioned the most are the ones that I was going to read, because obviously they should be the best because they've been talked about a lot. I think it's really hard to even know where to begin with horror, because a lot of really great horror is indie or self-published, and it's hard to kind of sift through a lot of the stuff online to find what is good. So I'm not going to do that extra work, and I am just going to take what other people have done. I'm going to take their recommendations. They've already done the work to find the good ones, and they're telling me about it. So that is what we have done. I will say I was a tad bit nervous going into this, because as they were mentioning titles, some titles that came up a lot and were actually recommended a lot, like Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones, also Nothing But Blackened Teeth, The Grown Up, Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke, The Last Final Girl, Dear Laura, We Have Always Lived in the Castle. I didn't like the majority of those. So I was a little nervous going into this, thinking maybe I'm just not finding what everyone else is enjoying enjoyable. I'm like, if they're recommending these ones the most, and those are the ones that I read and didn't enjoy, we're gonna have a problem. This might not be as successful as I thought. So of the channels I ended up watching, I watched Kasha's Book Cemetery, also Ashley's Little Library, we had Leanne's Lit, Gabby Reads, Erin Megan, Alicia Reads, Mandy's Morgue of Horror, as well as Haley Hughes. So those are all the videos that I ended up just taking titles from. I created a whole list of all the things that they talked about, and there was a lot that actually weren't mentioned more than once in these videos that I was really intrigued by, so maybe a future video of the ones that seemed to interest me the most. Anyway, so of those, the one that was mentioned the absolute most out of all of them was true crime. And this is about siblings that grew up in an abusive house, and they go on a killing spree after that. And this one was hyped by pretty much everyone. 5 mentions. The next one had 4 mentions, and that was Crossroads by Laura Hightower. And I've read from Hightower before, absolutely loved it. So I was pretty excited to see another one of their books on this list. So Crossroads is about a woman who, her son has died and she can't seem to let go, and then one day she accidentally cuts herself at the grave and some weird things start happening. With 3 mentions, we have a tie with Mapping the Interior by Stephen Graham Jones. Stephen Graham Jones' short fiction is kind of a bit of a hit or miss for me. I really enjoy his writing. It's normally the story sometimes just isn't as interesting to me as I would think, so we'll see about this one. And Mapping the Interior is about a boy who believes that he sees his father's ghost, and he's not too sure if it's a good or a bad thing. And then also 3 mentions was Cirque Berserk, which is a thriller about kids who go to an amusement park and then start dying. And then the last one mentioned also 3 times was Sour Candy, and this one I saw the author's name pop up a good bit, so it does seem like this is someone who is pretty prolific within the short horror genre, so we'll see about that. I will say the premise is the least exciting to me, about a man who seems like a good doting father. The problem is he didn't have a child before 2 weeks ago, and this boy he just came across him, and now this boy runs his life. So probably the least interesting of the bunch. Okay, with that being said, let's get in to what I thought about these.
The spooky season is here. So therefore, it is time to get ready for the spooky season. So today I'm going to be doing a little bit of decorating. I thought I'd bring you along for a little bit of the ride. Why not? Sure, why not call this a vlog? I don't know. My coffee area, because it's the easiest thing to do. It also is my favorite thing to decorate because it's functional and it's cute and you get to see my full mug collection. So, it's a bit of a process. I have to clean everything that I take off of here because these do get dusty. That's what happens. They get dusty. The first new mug that I picked up is this cute little ghosty. Look at it with a new little candy corn. Oh my god. Okay, cute, lovely, adorable. I also got the witches in. And it's got a dark purple on the inside. Can't really tell on camera, but it's got a dark purple on the inside. I like this so much. Apparently, I almost bought it twice. The second, or the third one, wow, can't count today. This is one that has a little skeleton hand. Anything with skeletons, I'm all over it. Also picked up this gorgeous, like, palm reading one. And this one actually came with like a keychain attached. Don't know why you need a keychain with your mug. It just makes a lot of sense. This ghosty one, obsessed. Obsessed. It's got spider webs on the inside. This one is probably like my favorite so far I've gotten from this year. And then the Joanna Parker, I ended up finding the little spider. Oh my god. These are amazing. And the devil. And these normally come in a set. Oh my god, I'm obsessed. Obsessed. I also picked up this teapot because it was giving me over the garden wall vibes. And it's gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. No clue where I'm gonna put it. Not a clue. Your girl's going pumpkin spice. I wanted to stop in here and update you on the next reads. Wait, well, I haven't even talked to you about a read. I ended up reading Crossroads by Laura Hightower because
This one I was most familiar with. I read Below by Hightower, really enjoyed it, so I had kind of high expectations. I think it was talked about one of the most out of the group as well, so I was just really intrigued. I ended up listening to it, and that shit was creepy. It delivers. It is about a woman whose son has died. It's been a while since he has passed. He was an adult when he passed, and she just like can't really let him go. She hears his voice in her head and is just, you know, she is, like, she knows what's going on. She knows that he's dead, but she is a mother and she doesn't want to accept that. So she accidentally gets cut at the grave and she ends up seeing him, like his physical form, and does some things to keep this going. But of course, really what's happening, because there is a cost to these things, and it is really a story about the struggle of like being a mother and the lengths that you will go to for your children, like no matter what. The whole time I was reading this, I kind of knew where it was going, and you just have this growing sense of dread. You know it's coming, and you can't stop it, like, because you understand. Even as someone who is not a mother, I get it. Like, I get the lengths that you'll go to for the ones that you love, and it was really interesting to see how this character was really rational about a lot of her choices and what she was doing, and just really seeing that all play out. I thought the grief was explained really well. I also thought it was really interesting to just see her, like, living her life while this weird shit is happening. So it was just really fascinating about just like desperation and loss and just how that can look so different for people and things like that. But I was like sick to my stomach at some of the things that ended up happening. I won't say like this is kind of gory, but it's definitely more of like psychological in a way. It's got some eerie feels to it. I think it's a really good step into horror. I think this could be really great for people who are just wanting to get into horror. So I thought it was really well done. I've really been enjoying Hightower's writing. Great job of like putting all those thoughts on the page without it seeming like incredibly stream of conscious and like over the top and overdone. I would recommend it. I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5. I thought it was really fantastic. Alright, now I'm probably going to take over the task of doing my shelves for the spooky season. And then I'll update you because I am almost done our second novella, which is, what is it? Well, I don't even remember. A true crime. And that shit is fucked up. I need to talk to you about true crime. This one was the most talked about horror novella that I saw. Pretty much every video I watched mentioned this. So I have pretty high expectations if I do this myself. Everyone is talking about how fucked up it is, and I have to say I absolutely agree. This is about two siblings who have grown up in a very abusive household. They have really suffered a lot of physical and sexual abuse from their mother. We follow Susie, the sibling, and one day she just snaps, kills the mother, and then they leave and go on a killing spree across the country. And kind of the things that unravel in Susie's brain and about her trauma and how she feels about all of this. And also kind of the repercussions of some of this. Definitely a look into like the human psyche, and also kind of a bit of like, I don't know, like a satire about true crime and people who enjoy reading true crime and who are like really into true crime and basically do not see the victims as human at the end of the day, I think. Here's the thing though, I think that's what it wanted to do, and I don't think it did that. This is all the trigger warnings, honestly. Right off the bat, jumps right into sexual assault and it just continues, honestly. Also a lot of animal violence in this as well, and it's pretty gory, a lot of assaults, but also just a lot of like in the brain and just like no empathy whatsoever. And it's just a bit hard to read. I will say a lot of books don't like upset me, I guess, but this one I did have to put it down because it was honestly a bit too much. And I just was not in the proper headspace to read a lot of this. It's not even necessarily the fact that like something is happening. It is the way that it is also like described in details that also just kind of upset me, honestly. And I think it does a really good job at being horror in that aspect, and I could see why a lot of people have rated this high, because you do literally have like a gut reaction to the things that are happening. That being said, I think it was trying to be just really sophisticated and like, I don't know, make a point about something, and I just don't think that it did it well. I think it involved way too many things to do that properly in such a short span at that. There's a lot of like contradictory things happening, especially with Susie, and it's like one moment she feels this way towards something and the next moment she'll literally feel the total opposite and like act opposite from the emotions that she had just expressed. So there were times where I'm like, this doesn't really add up to what she has already stated. Like, these actions just don't quite make sense. There were a few parts where it's like, basically, the author has to tell you directly what it means. And I don't know, I think it was just like trying just a little too hard to just be something else, be something other than just horror. I don't know if it was trying to be satire, I'm not too sure, but I don't think it delivered on all the parts that I felt like it was trying to, and I did think that some of that was just a little like, it took me out of it because I could recognize in the moment that like the author was trying to do something with the moment, and I'm like, but this isn't really delivering where I need it to. That being said, if you want to take it at surface level, absolutely you can, and just be absolutely disgusted by everything that's happening, go for it. Go for it. I'm gonna give this, I think, I'm kind of stuck between a 3.5 and a 4 at this moment. I want to give it a 4, but the more I'm like kind of distancing away from it, the more I'm kind of like, I don't think I'm going to look back at this book and be like, oh wow. I honestly don't. So I think I might give it a 3.5. We'll see. Maybe some distance will really give me a little bit more clarity. So that is where we're at with that. Still on the list, I do think we'll be mapping the interior. We're kind of going a bit in like the order of things that are the most exciting to me. Hello? I personally love Stephen Graham Jones's work, and some of his shorter stuff can be a bit hit or miss. So we're going to see how this goes. I don't know anything about this, and I tend to like to go into books that way. So I do love me some Stephen Graham Jones shit, so I finished mapping the interior. I ended up taking this when we went to Florida, and we got stuck in Florida because of the hurricane, and I read this when there was no power in our room. This is a book that, like, upon finishing, you have to stew on it a little bit. Like, you really have to keep thinking about it in order to fully understand the horror of what has happened, and also kind of really digest how you interpret the ending, because I think the ending of this can be interpreted in a few different ways, and the way that I kind of understood it, I felt was kind of the creepiness of it all. I'd say quite generational trauma, but definitely just like the cycle of how families can be sometimes. But this is, he sees the ghost of his father and he thinks, oh, this is a good thing. But then the more he is considering the things that he knows about his father, he's like, maybe this is not a good thing. There's also some other things happening that I think are far more terrifying than like the possible ghost aspect of this, and it's very much just how his family has been treated and how he is being treated. And there's some pretty suspenseful scenes in this with some pretty funky action happening. I don't even know how to describe everything that happened. Stephen Graham Jones is a master at writing between the lines, so there's really just a lot to constantly unpack, and you can read it at face value. You might not get as much out of it as I think that you could, because his storytelling can be so layered, and I just love it. His writing style is just absolutely fantastic and brilliant. I will say I don't think I quite got what I wanted out of this. I was hoping to just kind of feel like really creeped out, and yes, it was suspenseful, and yes, like the things that are happening would be horrific, but I think it just wasn't quite to the level that I was expecting. I think I'm definitely more for some gore, a little bit more on that end. Paranormal stuff isn't necessarily something that I always enjoy. It's very hit or miss for me, so I get where it's coming from, and I think it's been a really thought-provoking book as well, and I think I'm gonna give it a 4 stars. Like, it's good. I don't think I would recommend this for just anyone who's just looking for something to be scared by. This is definitely something that is just like, you really have to sit down and process what is happening in this book, so. Picked up Sour Candy. I was putting this off to the end. The premise of this one doesn't really intrigue me. I did some reading sprints today on Twitch, and so I was like, I'm gonna read it, I'm gonna get it done, and I fucking loved this one. This is my favorite one. This is my favorite. I know I still have one more to read, but I already know it's not gonna compare to this one. I already know, because this one is so good. The synopsis does not do this justice in any way, shape, or form. It is brilliantly written. The writing style in and of itself is gorgeous, and it's so sophisticated sounding, and I love it so well. The rollout of the story is done really well. Like, it immediately grabs your attention from the beginning, and it all is cohesive. Like, sometimes with horror novellas, it's not always like you have to really make a lot of connections, but the way that this rolls out is really cohesive. And, like, the overall premise of it is so creepy, because it's like this boy has shown up and, like, everything about your life changes. And the thing is, though, our main character knows this is happening, which makes it even creepier, and he can acknowledge that. I am in love with this one. This one is a 5-star read for me. I cannot believe that this is the one that I'm giving the 5-star to. I never expected this. Like, this was the one that I didn't even know if I was going to read or not, and I'm really glad that I did. So, I would definitely be checking out more by this author, because just the writing in and of itself was just absolutely fantastic. Now on to cirque, berserk. Berserk, whatever. I've already started it. I already know that it's not going to live up to what I think. It is probably just mostly going to be a slasher, but also I'm just being a little nitpicky, and I've already noticed some things that need some editing done to them, so that does tend to take me out of the story, but we're not here for that. We're here for the actual story, so we're going to see how this unrolls, but right now, I'm not overly impressed with the way that it's written, so I have a feeling it's going to read very much like a 90s slasher, so, and that's what we want from it. That is what we want from it. It has a different need than this, so. I finished Cirque Berserk last night, and I have to admit, when I went into it, as I said, I wasn't feeling super impressed with it, because it definitely felt a little, I don't know, campy. Just felt campy at the beginning, and so I was like, oh, okay, we're setting this up to be just like specifically like 90s slasher-esque type thing, and that's fine. There were a few grammatical things that I ran into that it would have been way better with some editing, but that being said, I enjoyed this way more than I thought I would. About halfway through is when I really started to become invested, because it wasn't telling the story that I thought it was going to tell. This is, I think, what a lot of people wanted Hyde to be by Kirsten White. This delivers, I think, what a lot of those people were looking for. It's a slasher, it's
suspenseful, but we also get a bit of a competition mixed in with it. Yeah, so going into this, I had just assumed it was a bunch of kids that go to an abandoned amusement park and basically get slaughtered. And that's not a wrong assumption, but there's a whole other layer to this story that looks back years previously on the people who are doing the killing. It was set up especially because there's a bit of a plot twist that I didn't see coming. I feel like it's pretty rare for me to be shocked by a plot twist these days, just because from consuming so much media that is similar, you just kind of know what to expect. So it was really nice to be shocked by something. And then you just really end up being connected to the characters way more than I thought you could be in such a short novella. And you're kind of like rooting for them, but also like, you know, they're bad people. And the author, you know, tries to alliterate that, you know, these aren't the greatest of people, obviously, but also like they have their reasonings, and the reasonings are spooky and weird, and I really, really enjoyed it. I was just so invested in the last half of it, and I couldn't stop reading. My heart was racing about what was going to happen next, and there's always just like these little glimmers of hope mixed in for certain aspects. So if you're looking for a really fast-paced read that is ooky spooky amusement park thriller, this is it. I think in the height of the moment, I was thinking it was a 4, but it's not perfect, and it did take a little bit for me to fully feel invested. So I think I'm gonna give it a 3.5. It's between a 3.5 and a 4, honestly, because like that's how much I really enjoyed it. It was a really fun time. Anyway, take it away, future me.
Genuinely surprised at which ones I ended up enjoying, because I think the final list is the opposite of what I was expecting to love the most. Like, I thought true crime is talked about the most. Everyone had rated it really high. That's going to be the one. And I was least excited about sour candy, which ended up being absolutely fantastic. So it is interesting. Like, obviously, I am still figuring out my taste as well. So I guess we're just going to have to keep doing this till I can really nail it down. I'm actually really happy with how this ended up working out. I enjoyed all of the titles. I don't want to say that there was any that I greatly disliked. I enjoyed all of them, and I'm excited to read even more. Let me know some of your favorite horror novellas down below so that I can have even more to read from. I'm just so excited to get to all of them. There's just so many. There's so many more than I ever thought. So I hope that you have liked this video. Don't forget to subscribe to see future videos from me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!